She had nothing. No home, no food, no one waiting for her. That morning, she was walking the streets asking strangers for work when she saw it, a wallet lying on the ground. At first, she thought someone would return for it, but no one did. When she picked it up and opened it, her hands began to shake. Inside were thick bundles of cash, smooth black cards, and a name printed on a shining ID. One of the most powerful men in the city. For the first time in her life, poverty and opportunity stood face to face. She could disappear with the money. No one would know. No one would look for a girl like her. Her stomach twisted painfully at the thought of food, a bed, safety. But instead of turning away, she started walking toward the tallest glass building in the city. She had no idea that this simple choice would pull her into a world of power, enemies, and truths no one wanted uncovered. The sun was barely rising, but she had already been awake for hours. At 19, life had taught her not to sleep too deeply. She had spent the night behind a closed grocery store, curled against the wall with her thin bag under her head. Cold ground, empty stomach, and silence. She stood, brushed dust from her worn clothes, and walked toward the public tap down the street. She washed her face carefully. If she was going to ask for work, she would do it with dignity, not begging, working. That was always her rule. She moved from shop to shop. Do you need help cleaning? I can carry supplies. I can wash floors. Most people ignored her. Some waved her away before she finished speaking. Others looked at her shoes and decided she wasn't worth the time. By midday, the city was loud and restless. Cars honked, voices clashed. The world moved fast for people who had somewhere to go. She stood near the roadside across from one of the biggest corporate buildings in the city. That was when a sleek black car stopped suddenly. A tall man stepped out, speaking sharply into his phone. His suit was perfect. His presence demanded space. Even from far away, she could tell he wasn't just important. He was powerful. He walked toward the building without looking back. The car drove away, and something fell onto the pavement. No one noticed, except her. She stepped forward slowly and picked it up. The wallet. Heavy, smooth, expensive. When she opened it, her breath caught. Cash, more than she had ever seen in her life. Cards that gleamed under the sun, and an ID. A name everyone in the city knew. The CEO of the very building in front of her. Her fingers trembled. That money could rent a room, buy meals for months, change everything overnight. No one had seen her pick it up. A boy nearby leaned toward her and whispered, "You're lucky, that's your way out." Another smirked, "Run!" She closed the wallet. Her stomach growled, her mind filled with images of warmth and safety. But then, another memory surfaced. A voice she hadn't heard in years. Her mother's. "If we lose our honesty, we lose everything." Her throat tightened. She turned toward the towering glass building. Each step felt heavier than the last. Security guards stood near the entrance. People in polished clothes moved in and out without hesitation. As she approached, one guard blocked her path. "Where are you going?" "I need to return something," she said softly. His eyes dropped to the wallet. His expression changed instantly. Before she could explain, he grabbed her wrist. "Thief!" Within seconds, another guard joined. People turned to scare. "I didn't steal it, I found it." But no one listened. They pulled her inside. Moments later, she stood in a quiet office. The man from the car entered. Calm, sharp, watching. "So," he said, "you thought you could steal from me." "I didn't steal it," she replied, forcing herself not to look away. He held out his hand. She placed the wallet in it. He checked everything. Cash, cards, untouched. Then he pulled out a folded note hidden inside. His eyes lifted. "There was a private note," he said quietly. What did it say? She swallowed. Don't trust anyone at the meeting. Silence filled the room. No one else knew about that note. He dismissed the guards. Now it was just the two of them. Why didn't you keep it? He asked. She looked down. Because it wasn't mine. He pulled out cash and held it toward her. Take it. Her stomach twisted again. Slowly, she shook her head. I don't want money. His brows lifted. What do you want? She looked up. A job. He studied her. Most people begged for money. She was asking for dignity. Be here tomorrow at 8, he said. You'll work in maintenance. Her eyes filled with tears. Thank you. But as she left the building, upstairs, a quiet voice made a call. She's coming tomorrow. Pause. Yes, the street girl. Another pause. Handle it. That night, when she returned to the corner where she slept, she stopped. Her bag was gone. Her blanket was gone. All that remained were ashes. Before we dive in, pause for a second. If you were in her shoes, would you fight for your place or run from danger? Comment below and hit subscribe because this story is about choices and consequences that can change a life forever. That night, she couldn't sleep. Not really. Her small apartment, which Damian had given her for safety, felt strange and foreign. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the ashes of what had been her few possessions. The cold wind pressed through the thin window, but it barely mattered. Her mind was louder than the night. Someone had found her hiding spot. Someone had burned her things. It was a warning, a message without words, and yet she didn't run. She had survived worse. She had learned what it meant to fight even when the world was against her. The next morning, the city seemed even harsher. People on the street moved faster than usual. Inside Cross Holdings, whispers followed her like shadows. Some assumed she had lost her belongings by choice. Some feared her. By afternoon, her supervisor, Mr. Kelvin, called her into his office. Money is missing from the supply account, he said sharply, and your name is on the last delivery sheet. Her stomach dropped. She hadn't touched a dime. She hadn't even signed anything remotely related to finances. This isn't right, she whispered. Someone get security, Mr. Kelvin shouted. Damian arrived moments later, calm but tense. Did you sign this? He asked. No, sir. I can write my name, but that isn't my handwriting. Someone is setting me up. Silence hung heavy in the office. Damian studied her closely. You were right, he said quietly. You are being targeted. Why? She asked, voice trembling. Before he could answer, his phone buzzed. He read a message and his jaw tightened. He turned the screen toward her. Tell the street girl to leave the company. Next time we won't burn clothes, we'll burn something else. Fear shot through her like ice. Her heart raced. The threats weren't empty. They were precise, personal. That evening, as she left work, 2 masked boys stepped out of the shadows near her usual corner. One grabbed her roughly. Leave that company, or you'll regret it. Pain shot through her elbow as she hit the ground, but she didn't cry. She couldn't. She had faced worse nights alone. Across the street, a black car door slammed. Damian had seen everything. He ran toward her, fury in his eyes. Are you hurt? He asked. I'm fine, she said, though her arm bled. No, you're not, he said firmly. This is happening because of me, because you walked into my world with honesty, and now they're trying to punish you. That night, instead of leaving her on the street, Damian drove her to a quiet, safe apartment. Temporary, he handed her the key. Tears filled her eyes. Nobody had ever offered her safety without expecting something in return. Thank you, she whispered. Inside the apartment, she sat on the small bed. The soft pillow, the clean sheets. It was more than comfort. It was a statement. She belonged somewhere. Across town, the man in gray watched from a dark office. "She's getting too comfortable," he muttered. But he had no idea. Comfort wouldn't break her. The next morning, at work, whispers followed her again, but this time Tiana kept her head down. By afternoon, Mr. Kelvin summoned her again. "Funds are missing from the executive office, and this was found in your cart," he said, holding up a thick bundle of cash. "No, that's not mine," she shouted. They escorted her upstairs, past a hallway full of eyes, judging, whispering, assuming. When she arrived, Damian was there, calm but unreadable. He picked up the cash, examined it, then turned toward the security footage. The video played. Tiana pushed her cart, entered an office, she left, then a hand slipped the money into her cart. The man in gray, her supposed colleague. Damian's voice cut through the tension. Check the footage from another angle. Clear. Unmistakable. He had tried to frame her. Security moved to arrest him. "This isn't over," he spat at her as they dragged him away. "You think you've won? You don't even know who you are." The words sent chills down her spine. Damian stepped closer, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You didn't break," he said softly, and for the first time in months, she felt it. Not fear, not pain, but strength. Tears rolled down quietly, not out of despair, out of relief, out of survival. Her fight wasn't over, but she had won a battle no one thought she could. The city lights glowed outside the massive windows of Cross Holdings, but inside, the air was still heavy with tension. Tiana sat quietly in her small apartment, staring at the stack of papers Damian had handed her. Her parents' accident, her uncle's warning, the corruption inside the company. Everything she had tried to ignore now demanded her attention. For years, she had lived in survival mode, trusting no one, fearing everyone. Yet here she was, no longer invisible. Her honesty had put her directly in the line of danger, but it had also placed her at the center of the truth. The following morning, Damian called her into his office. His expression was calm, but the weight in his eyes betrayed how serious this was. "Today," he said quietly, "we finish this. I want the full truth revealed, and I need you by my side." Tiana nodded, heart pounding. Together, they went through the evidence, the board members' betrayal, the tampered documents, the financial trail that traced back to her parents' death. The pieces of the puzzle fit perfectly. It had never been an accident. Her parents had been silenced because they discovered the truth about a criminal network hiding inside powerful companies. And now, years later, that same network was trying to manipulate the very company Damian had built. The showdown came fast. Police officers, alerted by Damian, waited outside the building while he and Tiana confronted the remaining culprits. Faces that had once looked trustworthy now revealed their true colors. Greed and fear twisted them, but they underestimated the girl they had tried to destroy. Tiana watched silently as Damian presented the evidence to the authorities. The board member, the man in gray, and a few other corrupt staff members were arrested on the spot. Shock spread across the company like wildfire. Whispers of disbelief filled the halls, but no one dared oppose the truth. For the first time, Tiana sought justice, not just for herself, but for her parents, whose names had been cleared at last. When the chaos settled, Damian turned to her. "You reminded everyone here," he said softly, "that integrity matters, that courage matters, that honesty can change the course of everything." Tears welled up in Tiana's eyes, but they were different now. Tears of relief, pride, and the freedom that comes from finally being seen. She had started as a girl with nothing, surviving on the streets, and now she was standing tall, no longer a victim, no longer alone. Days later, Damian presented her with a small envelope. She hesitated, then opened it carefully. Inside was a scholarship offer and an official position in the company's executive training program, a chance to build a future she had never dared to imagine. You deserve more than survival, Damian said quietly. You deserve a future. Tiana looked out from the balcony of the company, the streets she had walked for years now beneath her. The same street where she had found the wallet, the same place where she had once begged silently for food, now seemed like a distant memory. She whispered softly, "Thank you, Mama," remembering the lessons of honesty and courage that had guided her every step. The city, once cold and unforgiving, now felt like a place of possibilities. Tiana had learned that life would always test her, that danger could arrive without warning, and that people might try to tear her down. But she had also learned that integrity, resilience, and a brave heart could change everything. From that day on, Tiana walked the halls of Cross Holdings not as a victim, not as a street girl, but as a young woman whose honesty had reshaped the lives of everyone around her. She had survived storms that could have broken anyone, and in doing so, she had become a symbol of courage and hope. Her story was no longer about hunger, fear, or loss. It was about strength, integrity, and the power of one small, honest choice to alter the course of a life forever. If you were inspired by Tiana's journey, don't forget to like this video, comment below your favorite moment, and subscribe for more stories that prove one choice can change everything. Turn on notifications so you never miss the next powerful story.